We start the day's other headlines with a Supreme Court order that allows the Trump administration to strip legal protections from hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan immigrants. The justices put on hold a ruling from a federal judge that had kept in place so-called temporary protected status, or TPS. Such status allows migrants to live and work in the U.S. legally because their home countries are deemed unsafe. Today's decision puts some 350,000 Venezuelans at risk of deportation. Also today, a lower court ruled the Trump administration cannot move forward with its plan to dismantle the U.S. Institute of Peace. The organization was created and funded by Congress 40 years ago to focus on resolving violent conflicts worldwide. The administration can appeal. President Trump says Russia and Ukraine will immediately begin ceasefire negotiations after he spoke with each country's leader separately by phone today. Mr. Trump described his more than 2-hour call with Russian President Vladimir Putin as excellent. He also spoke one-on-one with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, as well as with European leaders. Afterwards, both Zelensky and Putin indicated they're ready for discussions to proceed, but they remain unwavering in their conditions.
Overall, Russia's position is clear. The main thing for us is to eliminate the root causes of this crisis.
Nobody will withdraw our forces from our territories. We will accept no ultimatums. We will not give away our land, our territories, and our people, our homes.
Zelensky went on to say that Ukraine and its allies are considering a high-level meeting between Ukraine, Russia, the U.S., and other parties. That comes after direct talks in Turkey last week, which ended after just 2 hours. The center of the country is bracing for more severe weather tonight. Weather officials say the threat is especially high for Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas, where tornadoes and flash floods are possible through tomorrow. St. Louis remains under threat, even as people there pick up the pieces from last week's storms that killed at least 5 people. And officials in Kentucky say the death toll from Friday's tornado could rise further. At least 19 people died, and many remain homeless. Residents have barely had time to process their loss ahead of more bad weather expected tomorrow.
But I found me some shoes today and some more pictures and just memories, because they say more storms are coming, so we've got to get things cleaned up before more storms get in here.
Meanwhile, nearly 8 million people in the Southwest are under red flag warnings due to potentially dangerous heat and dry conditions. The head of CBS News, Wendy McMahon, announced her resignation today. It comes as the network's parent company considers settling a lawsuit with President Trump. In an email to staff, McMahon wrote, quote, "It's become clear that the company and I do not agree on the path forward." Trump sued 60 Minutes over an interview with Kamala Harris last fall. He alleges it was selectively edited to benefit her, which CBS News denies. McMahon's departure comes after 60 Minutes executive producer Bill Owens announced his resignation last month. Turning now to concerns over air travel, the Federal Aviation Administration is investigating a 2-second outage involving the facility that handles air traffic at Newark Airport. There were no immediate safety concerns, but it follows a series of such incidents at Newark. Separately, federal officials said today they're investigating an incident at LaGuardia last month when a passenger jet had to abort takeoff to avoid a runway collision. And Houston's Hobby Airport suffered an hour-long outage at its tower yesterday. Backup generators kicked in and kept the facility up and running. Britain and the European Union sealed new trade and defense agreements today, more than 5 years after the UK formally left the EU. The deals came during the first formal summit between the two sides since Brexit. Last year, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer campaigned on resetting ties with the 27-nation bloc. At a press conference, he said today's agreements put Britain back on the world stage.
It marks a new era in our relationship. And this deal is a win-win. It delivers what the British public voted for last year. It gives us unprecedented access to the EU market.
More specifically, the agreements will ease some travel and trade across borders. They'll also extend a controversial agreement that allows EU fishing vessels in UK waters. And it'll pave the way for the UK to access an EU loan program aimed at boosting regional defense. Britain's opposition parties were quick to denounce the deals, saying they backtrack on the very premise of Brexit. And on Wall Street today, stocks drifted as investors tried to look past that U.S. credit downgrade by Moody's. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added more than 130 points on the day. The Nasdaq rose 4 points, so basically flat. The S&P 500 just barely managed a gain, notching its 6th straight winning session. And the beloved characters of Sesame Street are moving to a new home, even while keeping ties with their old one. Under a deal announced today, Netflix will stream new episodes starting later this year. They will also air on PBS and on the PBS Kids app on the same day. The change comes after Warner Brothers Discovery decided to end its deal with Sesame Workshop for new episodes for HBO and Max. Sesame Street has educated generations of children over more than 5 decades on the air, winning more than 200 Emmys. Still to come on the NewsHour, the downgrade of the U.S. credit rating triggers warning signs for the economy. We examine the impact of federal funding cuts on nonprofits and the communities they serve. And Tamara Keith and Amy Walter break down the latest political headlines.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.